Another year on Wall Street bets and another year of chaos and financial loss beyond belief. Even I was unable to avoid this carnage and found myself on the front page of Wall Street bets after my portfolio was cut in half by the hands and chopstick of President Xi Jinping and the CCP. Many young, brave investors threw their money at meme stocks and FDs in hopes of Lambo trucks and tendies as sweet as honey. And while some defied the odds and made more money in a day than most people make in a decade, most saw their portfolio values turn into a Happy Meal at McDonald's. And rather than keep their financial situations private, these apes posted online for millions of people around the world to admire and laugh at. The United States of America, the greatest superpower in the world, was on the verge of a presidential election that would drastically shift the outcome of our nation's rep and economy. This would be the biggest election turnout in history, with the eyes of the world focused on two men, Donald Pump Trump or Joe Slow Biden. Well, none of that really mattered. What mattered was GameStop stock. What mattered was AMC stock. And what mattered was greedy hedge funds who were shorting these stocks into the ground, getting squeezed to death by kids in their Minecraft pajamas. Naked short sellers who weren't satisfied with their stock prices down 80% and wanted the whole 100%. Short sellers like Melvin Capital and short sellers like Citron Research. And if you're wondering what happened to those kids in hedge funds, well, buckle up because it's a lot. GameStop and AMC stocks absolutely mooned while the hedge fund's entire funds came crumbling down. Every news outlet in the world was talking about a group of individuals on a subreddit who referred to themselves as literal apes and how they single-handedly beat the snot out of Harvard MBAs and billionaires with only a phone, chewed-up crayons, and a belief that miracles really do happen. In this video, we will be going over the best and most insane trades that took place on Wall Street bets over these last wild 6 months. All I ask is that you like and subscribe, buckle up, and enjoy this video. Our first wild trade comes from a young buck named Student Debt Bets, who decided to take all his money, which is about $3,000, and throw it into a bearish position, betting against the outcome of the election, thinking that the world would go into a civil war after Joe Biden won. Our man decided to buy puts on triple leverage ETFs such as TQQQ and go all in on that. Our man was right about the election. Joe Biden had won, but unfortunately, no civil war broke out, and the market actually rallied because of it, thus resulting in his puts looking a little bit dead. In fact, so dead that his account went to completely 0.00, something that is extremely rare and almost never happens. So congratulations to you for making this list, and luckily it was only about $3,000. Good luck out there, buddy. Next insane trade comes from a man named Sir Jack-A-Lot, whose strategy was very different than what most people expect on Wall Street bets of buying tons of calls or buying tons of puts or going super heavy on margin. This man instead uses a strategy of buying shares, which is just simply as it sounds, buying shares of a company. Nothing special to it. But our man did something so extraordinary that it actually is insane. He started investing with about $40,000 right before the pandemic hit in 2020. As we all know what happened in March of 2020, the markets crashed to all-time lows like we've never seen before. Our man instead bought a bunch of shares in a company of APT and Co-Diagnostics medicine companies and made a ton of money through that. After making a ton of money with that, he then decided to buy the dip almost perfectly with the S&P on March 20th, going all the way down. He went huge into a company called Slack and made an absolute fortune from that as well. He would continue to buy different things like the cruise lines, different medicines, and continue to do that back and forth until he made almost $900,000. Now that our man had gone from $40,000 to $900,000, this was only the beginning. He dumped everything he had into Corsair Gaming, which is a gaming company that sells different things like headsets, monitors, and mouses. He got in at around $25.50 and was expecting something big. To the surprise of everyone, Corsair Gaming had shot up massive to over $35 a share. And what else shot up was our man's portfolio, and he had just become a millionaire after banking a $330,000 gain. Our man's next trade was throwing everything he had into Peloton, the workout bike, and already was up an instant $3,000 the second he had bought in the stock. But that wasn't enough for our man. He knew that remote working and remote learning would cause more people to want to exercise inside and not go outside. Because of that, Peloton stock spiked up, and our man made a nice $50,000 in the past 2 days with Peloton. But of course, this is not even close to being over. Our man continued to search and find what his next play would be. And that play would be GameStop before the squeeze. GameStop had just been selling out PlayStations and Xboxes left and right, and with everyone on Wall Street Bets talking about a massive potential short squeeze, our man knew that this was the time to get in. He saw an easy 2 to 10x opportunity and threw all $1.1 million into GameStop and was ready for the massive short squeeze that everyone had been talking about. No patience was needed on this play. Within days of him buying it, the stock absolutely rallied to almost $20 a share within literally a couple of days. And of course, the portfolio rallied because of it up to $1.75 million, about a $300,000 gain within a week. But our man said, nope, I'm going to be hiding and I'm going to be holding. After a small $200,000 loss after earnings, our man decided he was going to diamond hand this more until he made money on this trade. Our man gripped those shares of GameStop with everything he had, and within days was back up to being up $250,000 on GameStop and then sold there. Our man then caught the SPAC fever and bought everything worth that he could have of Northern Star at about $14.83. To his amazement and everyone else's amazement, the next day the stock was talked about on MSNBC, and the stock absolutely mooned again. This is a company that was merging with Bark, which is a dog company, and the stock rallied to $18.50, resulting in our man making yet again another $250,000 plus gain, making his gains from $40,000 to $1.6 million in a year. Sir Jackalot, of course, could not stop there and had to go one more time to get that $2 million gain. And sure enough, he did it on his baby, Corsair Gaming. Congratulations, man, and congrats on $2 million worth of gains. Now, this list would be absolutely egregious if I didn't mention the man himself, Roaring Kitty, the man who took $50,000 and turned it into $50 million by buying GameStop call options back in September of 2019 and then buying GameStop shares. This man is a complete celebrity in the Wall Street Bets community and a god to others. Back in August of 2019, our man threw everything he had into call options deep out of the money, and not many people knew about it because our man was actually posting these videos on YouTube but only had about 2.6 thousand subscribers at the time. This was when GameStop was sitting at about $4 a share, and this journey lasted over 17 months from when he initially had his 50,000 to his 50 million. And he posted every one of these updates on Wall Street Bets for us to look at, admire, laugh at, and do whatever we pleased. So throughout August and September, our man continued to buy call options, $54,000 worth of the January 15th $8 strike price call on GameStop. Now, GameStop is trading at around $4 a share, which means these calls are over 100% out of the money. And in order to break even on this trade, GameStop would have to go up more than 100% in the next 16 months, which is crazy to think because usually markets or stocks only appreciate about 15% a year. But our man had reasons to believe that GameStop is not a regular stock and that GameStop stock is going to be one that defies all odds and all logic and is extremely undervalued. And a lot of people on Wall Street Bets believe that he was an absolute moron and believe that he would go bankrupt trying to do this unimaginable task of going all in on a dying retail brick and mortar company, especially with call options. At the end of September, our man's account was up to $113,000, but initially dropped $16,000 after some bad earnings. Our man continued to hold, and his account over the next couple months had an incredible journey, altering between tens of thousands of dollars every couple months, and too little volume to even sell these options if he wanted to, because he was one of the biggest whales in the call option space on GameStop at the time. So even if he tried to dip out of his position, he would be unable to. October started off pretty brutal as well, down a little bit, but still at about $117,000. And November was an amazing month, bringing him up to $230,000. just an absolute crazy swing. Things are starting to go good with GameStop running up after, of course, Dr. Michael Burry comes up and really starts to bring in more recognition and clout to stock. Unfortunately, December brought a terrible earnings quarter, and his position was almost dropped by 70%, down to about $80,000 after those terrible, terrible earnings. But then he continued to climb back, and by the end of December was back at $113,000. Now, this journey is just something that we just haven't seen before, because he continued to change it up as well, buying 200 of the April 16th, 2021 $12 strike price calls at this point, and holding some of his other ones as well, like those January 2021 $8 calls. So he then has February, April, and January calls. 2020 did not start strong for Roaring Kitty, as his portfolio dropped heavily back down to $56,000. Our man's portfolio was at over half of what it was due to poor holiday sales with GameStop, and he decided to add another $15,000 to his account so he could buy 300 more contracts at the April 16th $12 strike price call. Now, this is a huge move by him, and a big double down, if you ask me, raising his initial investment from about $50,000 to over $83,000. With GameStop continuing to fall more and more, his account dropped to $43,000 before February happened, and he closed out some of his 2021 strike price Januaries to buy 500 April 16th, 2021 $12 strike price calls, over 1,000 contracts of this specific one. He then posted an update in March of almost $300,000 worth of GameStop now after GameStop rallied a little bit. These are his call positions worth $298,000. This was after Michael Burry, the Big Short, announced that he is amping up his stake in GameStop. In July of 2020, our man's account was at $112,000. He had 10,000 shares of GameStop and 3,000 calls of the 1521 strike price call, along with thousands of calls and other strike prices as well for January and some at April. Come August, our man's account ballooned up to $612,000 after GameStop continued to soar as more consoles and active investors continued to pour in. September was another big month, up $800,000, then up to $1.4 million. Then in October, hitting over $2.2 million after big news of GameStop had continued to come out. After taking about $250,000 profits in October, our man decided to change it up and now owned 50,000 shares of GameStop and 1,000 calls at the 20 strike price and 1,000 calls at the 15 strike price. And GameStop had some big news as well. That failed retailer that was destroyed by the pandemic was now one of the best performing stocks in the market, and so was our man's portfolio, up to $3.5 million on January 11th, and this was only just the start. GameStop was trading at around $20 a share now, and our man was ready to explode even more. Come January 13th, the stock is up to $31 a share, and our man's account is up to $5.8 million. The next day, $40 a share, $7.4 million. And this is just the start of one of the biggest things ever. Our man sells 1,000 of his contracts at the $20 strike price call, $1.5 million worth, and now is just owning 50,000 shares and 1,000 contracts. The next day, GameStop goes up to $49 a share, and our man now has $11.2 million. He then sells some of his calls now that GameStop is at $77 a share, and his account is up to $13 million. He's taken some profits and locking in some gains, $4.8 million worth to be precise. GameStop continues to moon up to $148 a share, and his account balloons up to $22 million a share. And January 27th, the day that will live in infamy, GameStop goes up to over $300 a share, at one point hitting over $400, and our man's account is worth $48 million. It then fluctuates back and forth as GameStop continues to go up and down, but our man has already secured himself over $20 million worth of gains as he is sitting on over $13 million in cash and an account value of about $46 million. He owns 50,000 shares of GameStop and 500 calls of GameStop at the April 16th $20 call. GameStop continues to move left and right, dropping fast, going up, as no one in the world knows what direction GameStop is going to be. Our man Roaring Kitty decided to give one final update on April 16th of 2021, and this is what it was. 200,000 shares of GameStop, $30.9 million worth of GameStop, $3.5 million in cash. His total account value, $34.4 million. This is the price of GameStop, $154.69. Basically exactly what it is at today, almost 7 months later. Our man is going to go down as a legend in the Wall Street Bets community, and he's going to go down as a legend in all of the investment community, as he is not only on here, but on other spaces like CNBC, Wikipedia, and all other news outlets have talked about this guy and talked about what he's done. A man that started with $50,000 and brought his account up to almost $50 million. Truly one of the greatest trades of all time, and this could not have gone ignored. I want to thank each and every one of you for watching this video and supporting this channel. If you guys liked, again, please consider subscribing. And if you want to support this channel, I have a Patreon link in the description below. We currently have 0 Patreons, so maybe getting 1 or 2 would very be much appreciated and help out. Again, if you guys want to chat, I have a Discord and link in the description below. Feel free to join it as well. But thank you for everything. I hope you guys had a great year, and I will talk to you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.